or Pulsifer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Krieger, and thank you to everyone here today, because you've all had a part in making the last few years so special for the class of 2015. But for a few minutes, I'd like to speak directly to the class of today. Rap gods, lax bros, Canadians, the last of the Bahamians. This will most likely be my last chance to speak to all of you at once. So if you wouldn't mind, indulge me and close your eyes. Look back with me. Do you remember your first day of school? I remember only one scene from mine. Kindergarten, counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 years old on fingers just a little pudgier than they are today. I remember a bit more from elementary school, jumping to touch the tops of doorways that I could hit with my head right now. Drinking strawberry milk at lunch was disgusting. And I even remember middle school, as much as I've tried to repress it. I remember my freshman year at Owen High School, cold nights playing in the band at football games, a geometry teacher who had a picture of himself with his 3 cats on his desk, and JV basketball with Malik Johnson. And I remember my first day at Christ School, the sophomore form trip. I hopped on to what I thought was the sophomore bus, but turned out to be the junior bus, and I was greeted by Lloyd Burgess and Mark Pryor. For those of you who haven't met those two, Mark is 6'8", and Lloyd is 6'10". And these two giants were staring at me like this, with their heads on the roof of a bus meant for average people. And so I backed slowly down the stairs, thinking, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But since that first day, I've made a lot of memories, many of those first impressions. And I know you all have too. So I hope that you'll take the last short time we have together to remember how far we've come. Remember that class that destroyed you freshman year, that you could pass with no effort now. Hopefully. Remember the first football game or track meet or tennis match, because if I know anything, it's that we don't get many days like today. We don't get many days to remember. And whether you loved it or hated it, fellow gentlemen, there's a lot to look back on over our time at Christ School. There's a blank canvas ahead, but take a few minutes now and think about the moments you want to save. And on that first day here at Christ School, I felt a lot like I do right now. I couldn't figure out whether I was at an end or at a beginning. On the one hand, I was leaving my first high school and leaving what I knew. But on the other, I was ready to start again. And I think that most of us seniors feel the same way. Sorry to leave, but ready to go. And that's no secret. But one of several distinctions between this, graduation, and simply changing schools is that because we're ending high school, because we're now adults, it's so easy to label today a culmination or peak. And don't get me wrong, I know exactly how hard we've worked for the past few years. And I'm so proud, not just of the class of today, but all of you Greenies here. You deserve to be congratulated for all that you've done and all that you are. But after today, all that we'll have to show the world what we've done here at Christ School is a diploma. And nobody brags about his high school diploma. The danger when you begin to imagine today a culmination is that you could fall into the most common graduation speech cliche of them all. You could begin to say, I've made it, I've arrived, and you could start to abandon what allowed you to succeed here. You could begin to make the value of this graduation only the piece of paper that you'll leave here with, and that would be a tragedy. Because what makes this diploma valuable is the set of experiences we've had here at Christ School and for the whole of our lives. What's important is not simply the fact that we've come this far. It's what we filled our time with along the way. Friends, enemies made, goals achieved and yet to come. Is today a beginning or is it an end? And it doesn't have to be either if you don't allow yourself to assume that you've arrived. If you're brave enough to realize that you're not fundamentally different today than you were yesterday, you will see today for what it really is, a point of reflection. A day to celebrate the past and the future, even as we're all itching to move along. Now, I have a confession to make. I can't see the future, and I'm very sorry about that. But I'd like to make a couple of guesses anyway about all of your futures. And if I'm wrong, you can just go to one of those tarot card readers down on Sweeten Creek, and maybe you'll have better luck there. My first guess, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail harder than any number of YouTube fail videos could show you, and more often as well. In the words of the great Yankees baseball player Yogi Berra, even Napoleon had his Watergate. And even though it was Waterloo, not Watergate, it's still true. Even the greatest military general in history screwed up, and he screwed up big time. But that's all right, because as long as you treat failure as an opportunity to come back, like the Terminator, you'll survive your losses and return stronger than ever. My second guess, you're going to succeed, and I can guarantee that. You will reach the tops of the highest mountains. Your life will at times feel like the greatest life that is possible to live. But sometimes those successes will be scarier than all of your failures, because when you fail, you know exactly where you stand. You can look up and see what you need to do better. But when you succeed, it's easy to see how much you have to lose. It's like climbing a mountain. You're getting higher and higher, but you're ever more aware of how far you have to fall. But don't be afraid, because it's better to fall than not to start climbing. And to Reed Motter, who is doubtless saying right now, well, if you fell into a crevasse, you'd be way worse off than if you never started climbing. I say, come on, Reed, the simile isn't perfect. And anyway, keep in mind that it's life. No one gets out alive. My last guess is the one I'm most certain about. As you move along this odd mountain trail called life, two things will happen. You will be and you will do. Most of the time, who you are will be defined by what you do. Sometimes, what you do will be given meaning and context by who you are. Here at Christ School, we've all done things. Our lengthy resumes will attest to the games played, the classes taken, and the awards won. Mostly, though, we've done what English teachers tell you never to do, to use state of being verbs to describe your existence. And none of that's wrong, because high school is the time to be, to define who you are in your own head, to decide what's important to you, what's not, and what falls somewhere in the middle. If you do too much, you risk losing any form of identity in a constant stream of action. We can be, for now, but we may never get a chance to live this way again. Whether that's fortunate or unfortunate, I'll leave you all to decide. Here, we're surrounded by people who see us for who we are. They're able to look past the petty stuff and see us because they're part of our families, blood or not. Out in the world, though, that's not going to happen. Out there, people will see you for what you do, what you make, what you bring to the world. And I don't know about you, but that intimidates me a little bit. The idea that we are bringing our own personal light to this world is scary because it implies that we are big when we can look up to the sky right now and see that we're tiny. It makes one wonder, do I dare disturb the universe? But I say do. Dare to disturb the universe, because there are billions of people on this earth, but only one who you can make live the life you want. You have the authority, because there is only one you, only one man who can do what you can and be who you are. To guess one more time, I don't think the universe will mind. The universe has handled far bigger than you, but that doesn't mean you're small. So go, live, love, succeed, fail, eat, sleep, do, be, and don't forget to remember. I know that I don't know what comes next. But in the words of a rarely used graduation speech muse, Rage Against the Machine, it has to start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now? Thank you.